Dirkiesdorp is South Africa's mini George Floyd. South African police investigating officer admits in court that only accounts from black protesters were taken. On the same day that the US policeman Derek Chauvin, who arrested George Floyd, was found guilty in a screaming one-sided press and court, South Africa had its own version of black privilege in Piet Retief. If anyone still believes that the SA police and court did not do a frame job on the group of arrested farmers from Dirkiesdorp, such white guilt-driven thoughts were properly annulled in court on Tuesday. The investigating officer in the case, a black adjutant officer, admitted that he had only one version of the case, and that is the version that the group of violent black toy-toyers who entered the farm Pampoenkraal illegally on the 9th of April to confront the owner Werner Potgieter gave to him. He did not obtain the version of any farmer on April 9, nor after that. How is this at all acceptable? How can 5 men with fixed addresses, who do not pose a danger to anyone in society, be detained for so long, without the investigating officer in the case obtaining their version? The police and the MPA are clearly only listening to a group of protesters who seriously assaulted 3 farmers, including the owner of Pampoenkraal. Is this a case of black police officers and prosecutors just listening to black protesters because the other group is white? Or because the black policemen and prosecutors are afraid of the violent black protesters, as we have so clearly seen time and time again in the USA, when the mainstream and social media artificially whip up an outrage? So now we know how protesters in South Africa also behave. They only know one language, and that is the violence and intimidation spurred on by race baiting. The complainants before the court also indicate that the group of protesters went to Pampoenkraal to chase away the current workers because they are seasonal workers, which reveals how violent the protesters are. The protesters want permanent residence rights on the farm, so that no one can get them off there ever again. But it won't stop there, because as they say, we want the land. The group of protesters' real motive is politics and land acquisition. Their motive was not job-seeking, as the state claims, but the opposite, to destroy jobs on a productive farm. Somewhere behind them is a socialist or wannabe ANC councillor egging them on and advising them. Why are the protesters' political affiliations and history not checked by the media, as it would be if they were white? The prosecutors in the case, also a black man, also presented hearsay evidence by quoting a third-hand statement from one of the protesters in which he referred to what an aunt of one of the protesters told the protesters. And it is also clear that this mysterious aunt works in a farmer's house, because she claimed to the protesters that she had heard on the civilian band radio that the farmers were planning to attack the group of protesters. So she whipped them up into a violent frenzy. This is sadly very common where farmers' own workers on a regular basis give out information to farm attackers, who radicalize the farm workers and plan to kill and rape our people, mostly our weak grandparents, on farms. Is it any wonder that Werner Potgieter from Pampoenkraal prefers seasonal workers? Because we now know that today's our people, as Cyril recalls them, do not want to work. They just want everything for free, including land and working farms to live off, until it and lots of associated state grants to buy the ANC votes are all consumed. Then they will start demanding another one. The investigating officer took the protester statements at the scene in a group, where they could coerce and influence each other. They were not interviewed one by one as it should be. The case was opened just to make anti-white headlines and be able to lock up farmers as quickly as possible. The investigating officer also picked up an old case from 8 months ago where 3 people were allegedly killed. However, there is no evidence that any of those arrested are connected to the case. It is also not surprising that allegations of the K-word has sprung up, which we know is an old tactic to get white people in jail. The case was adjourned to next Monday, probably due to the violent protest that took place in front of the Piet Retief Magistrates Court